It's time to break down the Buffalo Bills divisional round playoff opponent, the challenges they present, and what the Bills need to do to deal with them today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Well, folks, let's do it. Let's get ready for Bills, Chiefs, divisional round, this time in Buffalo. We're going to break this team down from every angle, this matchup down from every angle, and be ready for Sunday night. So as you know, the Bills, they're at home, divisional round playoff matchup, and they're going to host the Kansas City Chiefs. The game will be played on Sunday, January 21st at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. The game will be broadcasted on CBS. Jim Nantz on the play-by-play, Tony Romo, the game analyst, and Tracy Wolfson, your sideline reporter. This will be the 55th all-time meeting between the Bills and Chiefs. The Bills hold a record of 29-24-1 all-time against Kansas City. The Bills have won 3 of the last 4, including just a few weeks ago in Kansas City. The Bills have won the last 3 regular season games against the Kansas City Chiefs, all at Arrowhead Stadium. But unfortunately, they have lost the last 2 playoff matchups against the Chiefs, the 2020 AFC Championship game and the 2021 Divisional Round playoff exit. You know the drill on that one, 13 seconds. So finally a chance to bring Patrick Mahomes to Western New York. The last 5 games between these two were in Kansas City, 7 of the last 8 in Kansas City, and of course the one that was in Buffalo was the COVID year, so no fans in the stands. Mahomes' first time playing in front of Bills Mafia. If you're going to the game, do your part. The Bills enter this game 12-6. They're the 2 seed in the AFC. The Chiefs also 12-6. They're the 3 seed. They've had an interesting season. Started 6-1, and then they went on this lull. They went 3-5 in the middle 8 games, and then they've won their last 3. So after that 3-5 stretch, they've won their last 3, which includes wins over the Bengals, then Week 18 against the Chargers, and that was a game where Kansas City had clinched the 3 seed. They couldn't be any higher or lower, so they rested a lot of their guys in Week 18. And then in the wild card round, they hosted the Miami Dolphins and beat them last week 26-7. Head coach of the Chiefs, you know him, Andy Reid, 65 years old. It's his 11th season in Kansas City, 25th overall as an NFL head coach, future first ballot Hall of Fame coach. He's got a crazy good record, 128-51 in Kansas City, 130-93-1 in Philadelphia, has been to 4 Super Bowls and won 2 of them. The quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes, who is 28 years old, 6'2", 225 pounds, was a first-round pick in 2017 out of Texas Tech, the number 10 overall selection in that draft. He started 96 career games to this point, and in those games, the Chiefs have an outstanding record of 74-22. Now, in 2023, he did not have his best season, completed 67% of his passes, 261 passing yards per game, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and a passer rating of 92.6. This was the lowest yards per game, the lowest touchdown percentage, the highest interception percentage, the lowest yards per attempt, and the lowest passer rating of Patrick Mahomes' legendary career. Now, I want to break down his metrics over the last 4 games. And these are the 4 games since he played the Bills. And the Chiefs in those games are 3-1. And I'm not including week 18 against the Chargers, where was it Blaine Gabbert started that game and the Chiefs rested as many players as possible. So the last 4 Patrick Mahomes started games. And these metrics are really interesting. It's not very Patrick Mahomes-like. Mahomes' average time to throw those 4 games, 3.07 seconds. That is a very slow trigger. That is the 30th slowest trigger in the NFL. And he's just not getting the ball out quick. Now, when he does get the ball out quick, under 2.5 seconds, 42% of the time, he's completing 76% of his passes. That's 5th best in the league. And a passer rating of 100.3, that's 14th in the NFL. But when he holds it for longer than 2.5 seconds, which is 58% of the time, his completion percentage is only 54%. That's 20th in the NFL. And his passer rating is 76.4, which is 24th. Mahomes' average depth of target is 6 yards from the line of scrimmage. That's 29th. Not a lot of vertical elements to this passing game. 9.3% of his throws are 20-plus yards down the field. That's 27th. And on those deep throws, 20 yards or more down the field over the last 4 games, Mahomes is 4 of 14 for 171 yards with no touchdowns, no interceptions, and his passer rating on deep throws is 28th in the NFL out of 32. He's under pressure 38% of his dropbacks. That's actually pretty decent. That's 11th best in the NFL, but he's not performing well when he's pressured. When he's under pressure, he completes 39.6% of his passes. That's 28th out of 32 in the NFL, and his passer rating under pressure is 59.9, which is 23rd in the NFL. Now, when he's kept clean, he's doing pretty solid. Completes 77% of his passes. That's 6th best in the league. And a passer rating of 100.8. That is 12th in the NFL. Play action, not a thing for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, which is pretty surprising. You feel like Patrick Mahomes would be a good play action passer. It's not really working out. They're only dialing up play action 13% of the time, which is 30th in the NFL in terms of frequency. And his completion percentage drops 13% with play action. And his passer rating with play action is only 59. And without play action, it's 92.6. It's crazy. It's just not working. You feel like Mahomes would be terrific as a play action passer. It's probably more to do with his weapons and not really having those vertical separators. But yeah, it's not a thing. Now, what is a thing for them is screens. 15% of Mahomes' throws the last 4 weeks are screens, and that's a lot. That's second most frequent behind Tua Tagovailoa from the Miami Dolphins. And they're getting 7.7 yards per attempt on screens, which is number 1 in the NFL. So really, really different type of season for Mahomes. The vertical stuff's not there. The play action stuff's not there. They're finding some success with screens. He's not doing well under pressure, and it's been a pedestrian year for him. Now, he's still Mahomes, right? He's an elite competitor. He's been to the AFC Championship game, I'm pretty sure, every single year that he's been a starter. You know, he knows what it takes to win in these stages, but it's not been a great year for this Chiefs offense. And you keep on this whole season, you're just waiting for it to wake up and get better. And it really hasn't. I mean, that was the last 4 games. Those are the most recent 4 games. And we're talking about below average to poor metrics across the board for Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm not trying to give you false hope about, Mahomes and what he's going to look like on Sunday. I'm just giving you the reality of the data and how he's performed. And, it's feels like a ripe opportunity if the Bills can take advantage of it. Obviously, the Bills shorthanded on defense potentially, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I think you're getting Mahomes at as good of a time as you possibly can. All right, we're going to break down this Chiefs offense much further here in the next segment. I'm also going to weave into that analysis some thoughts on the matchup earlier in the season between the Bills and Chiefs and some of the principles there and what needs to happen this time around for the Bills to get another win against the Kansas City Chiefs. So be sure to stick with me. But folks, passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all these parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Folks, the NFL playoffs are here, but there's still time to get in on the action over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 if your team wins or lose, right? It's a great way to get $150 in bonus bets. The app is super easy to use, and there's so many different ways that you can bet, like a live same-game parlay. You can find bets in the new Explore tab. They have a parlay hub and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. The offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs is Matt Nagy. Andy Reid is the play caller for the offense. Metrically, the Kansas City Chiefs are scoring 22 points per game this season. That's 15th in the NFL. 6.3 yards per pass, that's 13th. 4.3 yards per rush, that's 13th. They're 28 giveaways this season, that's 23rd in the NFL. They're 44% on third down, that's 6th best in the league. They're 54% in the red zone, which is 17th in the NFL. So just very average numbers this season for Kansas City with a high volume of giveaways, right? They're giving away the football too much for their standard this season. Let's talk about their personnel here. Wide receiver, the guy at receiver that's really emerged for them is Rashee Rice. He's kind of the go-to guy for this passing offense right now. He's leading the team in receiving over the last 4 games, over 400 yards. Mahomes is getting the ball to him quick. He's done a great job of creating yards after the catch. He's a rookie, and it looks like the most trusted option in this passing game right now. The receiver they target the most after him is Justin Watson, at least over the last 4 games. Big-bodied, possession-style receiver. And then it's Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who they're paying a decent amount of money. He's supposed to be a vertical threat. He's been highly inconsistent this season. They've really kind of phased him out. He's not in the top 5 most targeted players in this offense right now. Sky Moore is a young player that hasn't really emerged for them. He can occasionally make a play, yards after catch type player, and he's been injured. He's supposed to come back this week after missing the last few games on injured reserve. Kadarius Toney, they've not really been super interested in giving him the ball. He's had some injuries as well. And then Mecole Hardman, another speedster, and he's back with them after starting the season with the Jets. Not a ton of volume there, but part of the equation for the Chiefs at wide receiver. At tight end, Travis Kelce, not having his best season. He's had a ton of drops over the last 4 weeks. He's got a 20% drop rate. He's just been inconsistent, and you wonder about the bone bruise in his knee and how that's affected him all season long. But from the Kelce standard, it just hasn't been his best year. Now, I love their backup tight end, Noah Gray. He's the 5th most targeted player in this offense over the last 4 weeks. He's definitely a player to keep an eye on. Good player out of Duke, talented pass catcher, and I wonder how much more opportunity he's going to start getting here as their season moves along, if it continues beyond this week, and what his role is against the Bills. But I keep an eye on Noah Gray. At running back, Isiah Pacheco. He was not available for the Chiefs in the matchup a few weeks ago. That's a big boost to this offense. He's a really good running back, physical runner. He runs angry, doesn't want to go down, has an explosive second gear where he can pull away from defenders. He's a really good football player, and the Bills will have to have a good plan to deal with him. The backup is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was the featured back when the Bills faced the Chiefs earlier this season. Former first-round pick, really hasn't been a consistent player. And then Jerick McKinnon has not had a ton of opportunity this year. It seems like the last few years with the Chiefs, they've gotten McKinnon going like late in the season, and he's provided a spark. That hasn't been the case this year, but I certainly keep an eye on him as a veteran back that can catch the football and has some juice about him. So when it comes to the distribution of carries over the last 4 games, 53 runs for Pacheco, 24 for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and 4 for McKinnon. Their target distribution over the last 4 games: Rashee Rice, 36, Travis Kelce, 28, and then Jalen Watson, 13. Isiah Pacheco, 13. Noah Gray, 10. And then they just kind of sprinkle in the rest of the guys. So this is a Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce passing game, right? That's their top two options. That's where they're going to go with the football and kind of sprinkle in the rest of the guys. The offensive line, the only real question mark here is at left tackle. Wanya Morris, who started his first career game against the Bills, feels like he's their left tackle right now, but he missed last week with a concussion. Donovan Smith, who's been injured, who he filled in for and has kind of been the starter, started last week against the Miami Dolphins. So I don't know who it's going to be. It's either going to be Wanya Morris or or Donovan Smith. Morris, again, had a concussion last week. We'll see who it's going to be. I think either option would be, kind of an average to below average player in that spot. Their middle three is the best middle three in the NFL for my money. Left guard, Joe Thuney. Center, Creed Humphrey. Right guard, Trey Smith. Now, I will say against the Bills several weeks ago, Trey Smith probably had his worst game of the season. So hopefully the Bills can build on that. And then the right tackle is Jawan Taylor. They're paying him a massive contract. He's been a dud all season long. And you kind of thought maybe he would get better as the season has moved along. He has not. And so that right side, Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor, they struggled last time the Bills faced the Chiefs, and ideally they struggle again, and then hopefully you can take advantage of the opportunities against the left tackle, whether it's Wanya Morris or Donovan Smith. Thinking back to the last meeting that the Bills had against the Kansas City Chiefs, I thought the Bills did a good job against Patrick Mahomes, and they had a unique game plan for that. They had this disciplined, contained rush, right? That's what you have to do with Mahomes. You have to rush, but you have to stay in your pass rush lanes, or else he's going to get outside of structure and absolutely destroy you. And I thought the Bills did a good job of contain rushing Patrick Mahomes, and they sprinkled in some five-man pressures. And listening to Sean McDermott after the game, they blitzed him more than you would anticipate with five-man pressure looks. But Sean, after the game, talked about, look, we really just wanted to keep him within structure. We didn't want him to be able to freelance and get outside the pocket and really make us pay and stress our secondary to be able to have to cover for longer. We figured if we could five-man rush him and keep him bottled up, that would limit a lot of the explosive plays that he's able to generate. And that worked last time around. Now, surely the Chiefs are going to be aware of that. And they're going to have some counters and, the counter punches and all that type of stuff. But thinking about that foundational element of the game plan last time, curious to see how that shows up this time around. The other thing that really stood out to me last time that the Bills faced Mahomes was Mahomes got the ball out quick, 2.65 seconds on average. He got the ball out of his hands. That's the second fastest trigger he had all season. And a season average is over 3 for the season, right? He's holding on the ball a ton. This was a game where he wound up getting the ball out a little faster than he typically does. And I'm not sure if that was because of the rookie left tackle, the struggles the right side had, the Bills' contain rush, the Bills' five-man pressure looks, but they really didn't give him those opportunities to play outside of structure, extend plays, and create. And so can you force that again this time around? Also, some elements last time, they didn't have Isiah Pacheco. I already mentioned that. And Wanya Morris in his first career start at left tackle. And then they also targeted Christian Benford a ton last time. They threw it at him 12 times. And Benford did a good job. He stayed leveraged. He was resilient. He eventually forced a critical fumble in that game. But that was their Waldo, right? Like any good offensive team is going to find a certain component of the defense that they want to attack and do it, right? And for the Chiefs, it was Benford. And I don't know if Benford's going to go this time. He hasn't practiced Wednesday or Thursday. I'm recording this on Friday morning. I don't know what the final injury report is. But who's going to be the guy that they're going to pick on? Is it going to be Dane Jackson? Who's it going to be? If Taron Johnson can't go, it's probably the slot guy. And so just realize that they're going to do that. They're going to find the matchup they like the best, or the player they want to attack the best, and really challenge them for 4 quarters. Christian Benford, I thought, was up to the task last time around. So what are my keys for the Bills on defense against this Kansas City offense? Number 1, pressure Patrick Mahomes. We went through it. We went through his splits. I mean, he's not performing well under pressure this season, and he's typically very good under pressure. And so when he holds the ball, when he's pressured, his numbers come way down. So you know what you got to do? Get pressure on him and force him to really work progressions. And but also you have to force him to work progressions, but not get outside of structure, right? It's a difficult needle to thread. Number 2, you got to stay disciplined in coverage. He's holding on to the ball on average over 3 seconds. He's going to challenge you to stay connected for longer, right? You have to be disciplined and stay in your zone and really just play every snap through the whistle. And what's crazy when you think about the average time to throw being as high as it is, over 3 seconds. Remember, I told you that this is the second most frequent screen team in the NFL, and the ball on a screen pass comes out in under a second, right? So you're factoring in a high percentage of throws that are just immediately out of his hands, and when you put it all together, it's over 3 seconds, right? So you have to cover for longer against Mahomes. So stay disciplined in coverage. Number 3, and this is critical, you have to tackle and get population to the football. We already mentioned it. Tons of screen plays are coming. They're the second most frequent screen team in the NFL. They had the highest yards per attempt, almost 8 yards per screen pass. So you better be ready for that. You better tackle. You better get population to the football. And guys like Rashee Rice, he's got, over the last 4 games, he's got 28 catches. He's averaging 9.4 yards after catch per reception. Travis Kelce, one of the most dangerous yards after catch tight ends in the history of the NFL, he's averaging 6.6 yards after catch per reception over the last 4. And then Isiah Pacheco, I talked about it. He runs angry. And so, like, you got to tackle. You got to get population to the football. Pacheco, over the last 4 games, he averages 4.6 yards per carry. 3.86 of that is after contact. So you got to get population to the football. You got to be strong tacklers against this team, because so much of what they want to do in the run game, Pacheco yards after contact, and in the passing game, get the ball out of Mahomes' hands in the hands of playmakers that can catch and run. You have to be sound tackling the football. Oh, by the way, this team fumbles. The last 4 games, they've fumbled 6 times. Mahomes has 3, Pacheco has 2, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has 1. And again, that's not including Week 18. Their last 4 meaningful games. Their turnover differential since their bye week and 9-game stretch is -7. This team is turning over the ball. They're not taking it away. So get population to the football, and good things will happen. And then the last thing I have written down is win in the red zone. The Chiefs have not been a good red zone offense this year. They only score a touchdown 54% of the time, 17th in the NFL. Last week against Miami, they were 2 for 6 in the red zone, and Miami had the number 30 red zone defense in the NFL during the regular season. They held Kansas City to 2 of 6. And so when they get down there, hold them to field goals, tighten up. And I don't know that the Bills' red zone defense has been very consistent this year. Hopefully they can find some consistency against the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, folks, we're going to talk Bills offense against this Chiefs defense here in just a second, so be sure to stick with me. Well, folks, you got to check out PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the most fun, easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I love the format. It's awesome. It's just you against the numbers. It's not you against thousands of other players, including pros and sharks. It's just you against numbers. Here's what you do. You select 2 or more players. You pick more or less in their projected stats. You place your entry. That's it. It doesn't take long. Picks can be made in under a minute. And then when you win, the withdrawals are super quick. Be fun to have some PrizePicks entries going into this weekend's playoff game. So get in on the action. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. The defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs is Steve Spagnuolo. He's terrific, 63 years old, 14 seasons in the NFL as either a head coach or a defensive coordinator. He's had a top 10 scoring defense in 3 of the last 4 years, and the 1 year that he didn't was last year when they won the Super Bowl and played like 8 rookies, right? So Spags is he's got the stuff when it comes to being a defensive coordinator, and this might be his best defense yet in Kansas City. This season, they're allowing 17 points per game. That's second in the NFL. 290 yards per game. That's second in the NFL. 4.9 yards per pass. That's third. 4.5 yards per rush. This is where they're vulnerable. 24th, right? This has not been a good run defense this year. And that's yards per attempt. But like, you can look at the advanced metrics, DVOA, whatever you want to point to, their run defense is probably bottom 10. All right. So that's going to be an important part of this conversation. They don't turn it over. That's like that to me, between run defense and taking away the ball, not really been their strong suit. 9.5% turnover rate. That's 25th. They only have 4 takeaways in their last 8 games. They haven't had multiple takeaways in a game since week 7. So you want to certainly keep it that way. Third down defense, they allow a conversion 37% of the time. That's 10th best in the NFL. They allow a touchdown in the red zone 50% of the time. That's 8th best. They blitz a ton, 33% blitz rate. That's 7th highest in the NFL, and it works. Their pressure rate, on passing plays, 28%, second best in the league, and nobody gets sacks at a higher clip. They have a 9.3% sack rate, number one in the NFL. Let's talk about their personnel, and then we'll get into some dynamics of the last time that these two teams played. On the edge, George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Charles Omenihu. I don't think they had Omenihu last time the Bills played them. That's a big boost to their defense. Karlaftis, a first-round pick last year, has really come into his own. He plays with a ton of effort, and he's really physical and powerful, and he knows how to play through angles, play through contact. He's got good contact balance and a hot motor. Not super bendy, not super explosive, but he's powerful and he's relentless. Mike Dana, heavy hands, big-bodied edge rusher, right? Like, he's not a guy that you're easily going to move out of the way. He's not super explosive, but long arms, heavy hands, stout player. And then Charles Omenihu, who's kind of the combination of maybe both of those players. Karlaftis and Dana, has good length and a little bit more loose than you think, a little bit more explosive than you think he's going to be. Nice three-man rotation there. Felix Anudike-Uzomah is their first-round pick. He's really not been a factor this season. Those are going to be their three primary players there. And, of course, they're going to bring these other linebackers in and blitz quite a bit. At defensive tackle, Chris Jones playing at a super high level, one of the elite interior defensive linemen in the NFL, and he can play up and down the line, right? So, he's going to have some matchups against Morse and Torrance and McGovern, probably put him on the edges a little bit. And so they're going to get him going in some matchups they think he can win, and I'd anticipate him playing over O'Cyrus Torrance quite a bit. So big test for Cybo. Derek Notty's his running mate. I don't think he's going to play this week. He got injured last week, and he's their nose tackle, right? I don't know that Derek Notty's been quite as good as he's been in previous years, but he's also their nose tackle and probably one of their best run-stopping players. That's what he's supposed to do for them, at least. And he's not going to be available this week, potentially, and that's going to make a suspect run defense even more suspect. Tashawn Wharton, good rotational player there on the defensive line. And then Mike Pennell is like a veteran player that hasn't had a ton of run for this defense this year. He's probably going to have a lot of opportunity this week with Derek Notty out. At linebacker, the Chiefs play four linebackers. Nick Bolton, who I think it was his first game back from their wrist injury against the Bills last time around. He's healthy, further removed from that and playing, it's typical Nick Bolton. He's a hammer downhill, can tackle, right? Not super rangy, not that good in coverage, but in the box, he's really dynamic. Willie Gay is their speedy matchup linebacker. A lot of range, a lot of athleticism there. Drew Tranquil, they didn't have him last time the Bills played the Chiefs, and he's a very good situational linebacker for them who can rush, he can play the run, good short zone defender. He's a nice player. And then Leo Chenal, a young athletic dude that they can deploy in a variety of ways, including some blitz stuffs, including some, if the Bills go heavy personnel, they'll bring him into match. He's a versatile player for them. So they'll get all four of these linebackers involved in one way or another. At cornerback, they got two really, really exceptional players. Trent McDuffie, who's quickly become one of the best slot defenders in the entire NFL. And then L'Jarius Sneed, who's quickly become one of the best corners in the NFL. And, he did a great job against Tyreek Hill last week. He gave Stefon Diggs a lot of trouble when these two teams faced earlier this season. And I'm sure, Sneed's going to draw Diggs, and that's going to be good on good there. And then they still do this other thing with the other corner spot where they rotate in Watson and Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, Josh Williams. Those are both big, long-armed, straight line, explosive, press type corners, right? And so they'll mix them both in opposite of Sneed and then, of course, McDuffie in the slot. So what you'd really love to be able to do is win that matchup against the Watson-Williams player. At safety, Justin Reid and Mike Edwards are their safeties, a couple of veterans there. Now, Brian Cook is their preferred player next to Justin Reid. They haven't had him. So Mike Edwards has had to play, and he's a drop-off from Brian Cook. And then they mix in Chamari Connor. Chamari Connor picked off Josh Allen last time these two teams played. But when they want to get that third safety in the game, Chamari Connor has become that player. He's a rookie, a young player out of Virginia Tech. So what are some of the principles of the last time these two teams played for the Bills? If you remember from the All-22 review, this was the game where Joe Brady used all the four strong formations, right? Where they had four eligible receivers to one side of the formation. And a lot of that would come at the snap where they would motion. They'd have 3 strong and then motion to 4 strong at the snap. And that really stressed the communication of the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was really, really effective. It set up some big plays, the early touchdown pass to James Cook, some of Dawson Knox's production. They ran the ball off of it, and they would run to the weak side of the 4 strong alignments. It was a really nice wrinkle that Joe Brady was able to incorporate in this game. Now, he hasn't done it as much since, but I'm sure the Chiefs are going to be spending a lot of time thinking about 4 strong, and this is a great opportunity for Joe Brady to develop some counter punches and build off of what he showed them last time around. James Cook was terrific last time the Bills played the Chiefs, had 10 rushes for 58 yards, 5 catches for 83 yards, so 15 touches for 141 yards and a touchdown. And I thought the Bills had a lot of opportunity to run the ball, and I thought they ran the ball well, and I thought they had even more chances to run the ball. And I think this is going to be such an important dynamic in this game. It's Mahomes versus Allen, but I think the Bills and their rushing offense and against this suspect Chiefs run defense is going to be as critical as any dynamic in this entire game. And I have in my notes from the last time these two teams played that the Bills should have used James Cook even more, and the run game was there. Well, now they don't have Derek Nottie. It should be, a lot of opportunity there to pound the rock. The wide receivers last time these two teams played struggled, right? There wasn't much going for anyone. Diggs, Shakir, Davis, there wasn't much. And you kind of saw Deontay Hardy made a play, Trent Sherfield made a play, but the overall production was lacking. And this was kind of in the peak of the passing game slump that the Bills were in. And I think they're out of it. And I thought they were going to get out of it after that New England game. I talked to you about that in the All-22 review. It happened against Miami, and it built upon that last week against Pittsburgh. So I like where this passing offense is a lot more. But, the Chiefs secondary against the Bills receivers won that matchup last time. And so the Bills are going to have more production in that capacity. And you remember this game last time, there's a lot of perimeter screens to Stefon Diggs, and it just wasn't going. And you also had a miscommunication where they had set up all these plays, right? They're doing all these perimeter screens all day long, and they set up this deep shot to Gabe Davis, and then Josh didn't throw it to him. He threw it to Dalton Kincaid, who was covered, right? So it was like the peak of the slump that the Bills passing game was in. Hopefully on this side of it, they're going to be better off. Also thought the Bills' protection scheme struggled against Kansas City. Thought the running backs really struggled. Between Ty Johnson and Latavius Murray, they gave up 6 pressures. I thought Josh Allen navigated the pocket poorly against the Kansas City Chiefs last time. He was charged with 26% of the pressure he faced being his fault, not being able to account for free runners and maybe holding onto the ball for too long. The offensive line had some whiffs. I mean, Josh was under pressure 47% of his dropbacks last time around. And he held onto the ball for 3.28 seconds, right? Which kind of speaks to how unsettled he was in that game. So, I think the Bills' offense is just in such a better spot right now compared to where they were when these two teams played earlier. And I think the Bills have done better with protection schemes and blitz and man coverage. And Josh Allen has been a lot better throwing the football. So hopefully that can continue this time around against a really good Chiefs defense. So what are my keys for the Bills on offense against Kansas City? Well, number one is protection schemes. Show that you really have figured this out. Show that the success you had against the blitz the last 2 weeks against Miami and Pittsburgh can show up again here. And they're gonna move their defensive linemen around. They're gonna blitz, and you got to have the answers. Number two is run the ball. Run the ball. This is a game where I think the Bills should try to. I mean, obviously the game script's going to play out, but don't be afraid for this game to be less about Josh Allen throwing it and more about James Cook and Ty Johnson and what you can do in the run game and then building your passing game off of it. I think it's going to be important. I think the Chiefs' run defense can be had. Test it. Absolutely test it and see if you can really dictate the terms of this game with how you want to play it offensively. Number three is you have to make them wrong. What's interesting about Kansas City is they're a team that is very focused in on spying Josh Allen. And I've talked about this a lot lately. You can't spy Josh Allen, take away the middle of the field from the tight ends and the running backs, right? So, okay, you want to spy Josh Allen? We're going to kill you with running backs and tight ends. Okay, you don't want to spy Josh Allen? We're going to kill you with Josh Allen, right? So you got to find out what Spags wants to try to take away and just go to the other stuff. And then number 4 is I'm very mindful of Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed and what they're going to be able to do in this game in terms of in the slot. And, Sneed's going to follow Diggs. Can you make this passing game more about Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid and the running backs? And can Deontay Hardy be a sneaky X factor in this game? I think Deontay Hardy, if you can put him in some matchups against Josh Williams and Jalen Watson, you should have some wins there. And so, you would love for this to be a big time Diggs and Shakir game, but this might be a big Cook, Kincaid, Knox, Deontay Hardy type game. And don't be afraid of that, because I think those are you're going to be your best matchups for sure. Real quick on special teams, the Chiefs have the best kicker and punter duo in the AFC probably. Harrison Butker is unbelievable. 40 of 40 on extra points this year as a place kicker. 37 of 39 on field goals. 95% on field goals this season. And he hasn't missed this season from beyond 40. And I think he's 5 of 5 from beyond 50. He's unbelievable. And so, you think about how good Butker is and the struggles that Bass has had, and you hope that this game doesn't have to come down to field goals. The punter, Tommy Townsend, for my money, he's the best punter in the game. He booms it, gets tons of height on the ball. He's a weapon. He's outstanding. And then their kick returner is Richie James, who is a very solid veteran kick returner. Is he overly dynamic? No, but he's a veteran that knows how to handle his business as a kick returner and a punt returner. So there you have it. Bills, Chiefs, good overview here for you on what the Chiefs are, the opportunities for the Bills, what the keys are for success. So hopefully this is a conversation that helps you get ready for this game. And we still have one more conversation left to go, where you'll get my final thoughts before kickoff. You'll get the injury update with Dr. Kyle Trimble of Banged Up Bills. I'll give you my prediction for the game and really just empty the chamber as it relates to the stuff in my head for Bills versus Chiefs. So one more conversation to go before kickoff. Make sure that you don't miss anything. Make sure that you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bills, and we'll catch up one more time before kickoff.